What's going on YouTube? Today, it is not a joke. I will be at least attempting, to start a portrait painting with my opposite hand. Just like with the palette knife, it was a challenge painting where we did the whole thing with palette knife. This time, I'm deciding to start it with my opposite hand. I am right-handed, so if you watch my YouTube videos, like all of them, you'll notice that I paint with my right hand. This time, I'm going to paint with my left hand, at least for the start of it. I'm not promising I'm going to do the whole thing opposite-handed, but maybe. So we are using the same paints as always, the Cobra Talons, and just the colors, the three primaries. I mix my orange and my brown and the green. So we have a Rembrandt as the reference. As usual, I take the reference from Google Arts and Culture. It's just easier that way. I don't recommend you work from a photo reference that you have not taken, or a photo reference that's not intended to be used for painting. Especially during the holidays, you might get a lot of family members that are like, oh, he or she knows how to paint portraits. So, can you paint a portrait of Uncle Jim, Uncle Bob, Aunt Susan? Try to avoid that. I always say that around this time of the year. Hey Jay, thanks for saying hello there. So I'm just toning the canvas at this point. Just thinning out the paint, adding just water and anything dark at this point. And I'm just getting used to what it feels like to use my left hand. And this might be useful to anyone that struggles with shapes, because we are going to be primarily focusing on shapes with the start of this. And already my left arm feels weird. My left arm does not move doing anything other than holding a steering wheel, as I do drive a stick shift, so pretty much only drive holding the steering wheel with my left hand. But yeah, this is weird. This is totally weird. It is a very fun kind of thing to do. Hey Hansel, dog. Sonia, welcome. I have always wanted to do this. I've never actually had the courage to do it. And part of me wanting to do this is I like challenges. Now obviously my hand feels all weird. Maybe at some point I'm gonna get used to this. But if any of you have ever tried to write with your opposite hand, or do anything like, I don't know, really anything with your opposite hand, it is so weird. It is the weirdest thing ever. And I purposely didn't tone the canvas. I wanted to tone it with my opposite hand, just like a warm-up, so I could kind of know what it feels like. And I always suggest you use your fingers in your arm and not your wrist. And I already noticed I started using my wrist. So I'm not used to it. I'm not used to using the opposite hand. Right, Hansel dog, you're left-handed. Yeah, it's funny how I'm holding the brush. I'm not used to this at all. My left hand has to teach my right hand. So right hand says you need to paint like this, right, and not like this. So it's a little strange. I'm gonna say it's a little strange. Now, in terms of the painting, this is all the same as you would normally see me do. I'm toning the canvas. Something different is I'm standing now. I've actually rearranged my studio a little bit. So I usually sit, but this time I'm standing. So I'm a little bit further away from my computer. So if my audio doesn't sound that good, I apologize for that. I can always move my computer closer to me later, or get a microphone. One or the other. So now I've toned it. It is a kind of purplish neutral gray. Now the actual painting will commence. And I am in no way going to try to do a fully finished painting in one sitting. As this is a Rembrandt, um, it's not going to be something that would be advisable to do in one sitting. So what I'm going to do is just go with the basic shapes first. And his head's probably going to fit somewhere over there. Like I said, I rearranged everything in my studio, so I'm not sure if the light is going to cause some issues, but we'll find out. So that's the bottom of his chin. Top of his head's gonna go somewhere over there. I'm just using my dark brown mixture. So the edge of his face is gonna go over there. Just working with shapes, nothing specific, especially since I'm using the wrong hand, opposite hand, so there's no way you're gonna see me try to do anything other than block in specific general shapes, not tiny shapes by any means. Angle of the eyes, somewhat like this. And to me, I think Rembrandt was right-handed. Looking at how he positions his model here, for us right-handed people, it's easier to do this and create a sweeping line this way. Obviously, I'm not going to touch the canvas with the correct hand, but it's easier for us to go like that. Left-handed, it's easier to go like this, which will create a diagonal, I guess, in the opposite direction. So it's a little strange coming into this, putting a shape in the opposite direction. But whether you're left-handed or right-handed doesn't really make that big of a difference in terms of your technical ability. It's just a little different when you position a live model, if you're working from a live model. Now, obviously, if you're painting from a master study like this, it's not that different, really. It's not different at all. But if you're going to position a model and you're left-handed, it's actually easier if your light, instead of coming from the left, the light will come from the right. That's actually going to be easier for you if you are left-handed, as you are Hanseldog, left-handed. So it'd actually be easier for you to position it. However, when it comes to painting, it really won't make that much of a deal. It won't be that much of a difference, really. Not a big deal. So eyes are going to fit over there. Facial hair is going to fit somewhere over there. Okay, now we've got eyes, probably somewhat over there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a different brush. And if we can, start to kill off some of the background. Just working with light and dark for now. So, question for everyone. I don't know how many of us are here, but question for anyone here. Has anyone ever even thought of trying this, doing a painting with your opposite hand? Or, better yet, have you ever done anything with your opposite hand? Written a sentence, a paragraph, or something? I, as many of you know, I'm a beginner pool player, so sometimes, me being a short person, I have to shoot sometimes with my left arm, so I have to get used to that. But in painting, it's never really been a thing where I've had to do that. So it's a fun challenge. It's very strange, unnatural feeling. And I'll say it's kind of like my right hand is moving as I'm doing this. It's very strange, really strange how my right hand is moving. Although you can't see it, but my right hand is moving as I'm applying these brush strokes. Kind of covering the canvas. Shadows up here. His head. Hey, Stephanie Thompson. Hey Hansel Dog, you wrote you can do both, but your signature doesn't look the same. Oh really? Wow, that's awesome. That takes some skill right there. I cannot do both. I cannot. Otherwise, this wouldn't be a challenge. Uh, yeah, both is difficult. Um, let's see. So, Yeti S, have you ever tried graffiti characters or caricatures? Um, I have never tried either of them. Um, I've had caricatures done of me when I was a kid, but never actually tried any. That could be another challenge. I should have probably moved the entire setup, put the palette over here, but that would hurt my brain a little too much. Yeah, it's so cool. You can, so Sonia, you can use both hands when you paint. Can anyone else do that here? That's the first I've ever heard of that before. I've personally never tried this before, ever. And like I said, these paints do this thing where they kind of, see this? I can rub my hand across it. They do a pretend dry, which to be honest is helping me a ton with this, because if the paint was moving around and getting really slick, it would be quite difficult for me to do this opposite handed. I mean, it's already difficult. So once again, this is another Rembrandt. I'm telling you, at some point in the future, we're gonna do all the Rembrandt, all the paintings attributed to Rembrandt. We're gonna do on these live streams at some point. Who knows how long it's gonna take, but we're gonna do them all. And you will learn from them, because it's really one of the best ways to learn, is to learn from the old masters instead of copying the photo references. And what will painting with your opposite hand teach you? It will teach you how to appreciate shapes, simplicity, because you're not going to want to go in with detail. Believe me, you're not going to want to fathom going in with detail with your opposite hand. No way. Just no way. My setup is shaking a little bit because like I said, I have it on a different, it's a different setup today. So again, shadow for the nose. Gosh, it's so weird. My right arm keeps moving. So Hansel doll, you grew up when teachers tried to force right hand writing. Oh, they tried. You know what? I actually experienced that when I was a kid. I had to learn how to use scissors with my, you know, those like little plastic scissors that don't actually cut anything. With my right hand. I think I started out left-handed when I was a kid. Although I will say, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm very much a right-handed person. I play pool completely with my right hand. I started with my left, but believe me, I am 100% a right-handed person. Let's see, let me read this one. Carla, welcome. In figure drawing, our teacher had us use our non-dominant hand for a week. It was fun. Wow, okay, I'm behind. All of you are ahead of me here. I have never done this. Let's see. Carla, maybe. I might use my left hand for the entire painting. I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, I was kind of scared to even start it. But now I feel a little better. Who knows? Well, as things go on. I intended to start it with my left hand, but shoot, we might just do the whole thing with the opposite hand. But definitely back me up, because I'm sure I'm going to make some mistakes and somebody's going to say, well, his head doesn't look like that. Well, I know I'm using the wrong hand. So back me up a little bit as time goes on. Somebody's going to point out that it looks wrong. Absolutely weird. One of the weirdest feelings I've ever experienced, other than painting a portrait with a palette knife. Which, if you haven't seen it, I did a portrait completely from palette knife. Everything. No outlines, nothing. Just straight up palette knife. That was another challenge that I always wanted to do. So I'm kind of knocking off my bucket list paintings. Now, as a teacher, would I make my students paint with their opposite hand? Probably not. Painting with your opposite hand is purely, I think, purely a abstraction to what I guess, the traditional way of learning how to paint or how to draw is. And that's because you're trying to diverge from what your brain is used to doing instead of building muscle memory through repetition with your brain, which is how you usually want to learn things. However, I am open to pretty much anything. So I'm not going to doubt the validity of doing this, because I mean, I'm doing this. To me, it just seemed like a really fun thing to try to do. My personality, I just like to do things that are just absurd, difficult. It's just fun for me to do. The idea of shapes, values, all the fundamentals pretty much already exist in my head. It's not a left-handed or right-handed thing. It's the application of the paint that's a little strange. For example, like, I'm so used to moving the brush this way to avoid glare that now I'm creating all this glare that I'm not used to because I'm moving the brush in a different direction. See that? I'm trying to fix the glare over there. Hey, Alan. This is quite difficult. So from Alder, did you end up liking the old method of layering technique over alla prima style? I like them both. I will say these days I kind of like starting alla prima but treating it like an old master painting, which means I like working wet into wet in the beginning and let that be my underpainting, kind of like what we're going to do today, really. But essentially the same information is being conveyed no matter whether I start with outlines or not. It's all about the simplicity of things and setting up the shapes, setting up the drawing for the next layer. I would prefer students work with the traditional approach, Alder. I would suggest you do a transfer drawing. If you've never done a painting before, do a transfer drawing and build up your underpainting with a monochromatic layer before going into color. That's what I would suggest anyone starting out to do. As you get more experience, it's just more efficient to go in with color. It's all I'm saying. So I like them both for different reasons, but for me, I think I have more of an alla prima kind of start. But I layer it. I don't just do an alla prima, like paint one day and then just say, okay, that's the painting. I usually don't do that. Nothing wrong with it. I find that's way too difficult to do. And Sargent felt that way too. So if Sargent felt that way, I certainly don't feel bad feeling that way. So now that we have the basic shape blocked in, I mean, I'm missing some stuff, like this needs to get a tad bit darker, but now that I have the basic shapes blocked in for his head, I mean, the angle is somewhat correct. No problem, Alder. No problem. Now that I have those basic angles, somebody wish me luck. I mean, I need all the luck in the world for this. I'm gonna go in and mix a skin color and something orange with a little bit of blue. Now I'm gonna use the gray that's on there to kind of help with the skin color. And yeah, with my opposite hand, I'm pressing down really hard into the panel. So that's something we talk about a lot, Ellen, is the soft touch. It's hard to do with the opposite hand. My opposite hand is so clumsy. Oh my goodness, this is like really clumsy. Thank you. Thanks, Hansel Dog. Let's see, from Alder, let's see, you can see Sergeant would layer the face more so the clothing on Ella Prima. Yeah, he would work in so many different ways, but I'd say he definitely started with a more shape oriented approach rather than linear. Although he was trained to use the classical, and then eventually, after studying with Carlos Duran, he moved into more of the what you know today as Sergeant. Alright, so I'm pressing down onto the lightmost facing planes, and I'm going to work with the most obvious large light shapes. My colors are somewhat muted, a little bit closer to the yellow. As you see, I'm adding more of the yellow orange into it, and I'm using the gray that's already on the palette to help influence some of these colors. Like I said, so Alder, you asked about if I prefer the Alla Prima or the classical. I kind of do a mix, really. I'm starting out with a very kind of controlled start when it comes to color. I'm not putting in a ton of color, but what I'm doing is I'm working with shape in such a way that it's going to be easier for me to see the stuff that needs to be added onto this. And like I said, this is really strange for me because I'm adding the brush strokes in a different direction. So I'm adding it in this direction, which is to avoid the glare. And it's kind of weird, it's glaring a lot from my view. Strange. It's really difficult to stay an arm's length away with your opposite hand and still have control. So if you ever do this, you'll find how difficult it is to control the brush from a distance. All this time I've been telling you, hold your brush an arm's length away. Dang, it's really difficult to do that. Really difficult to do that. It's almost more comfortable to get up close. And it's weird because I know what to do. I've done this for a long time, but it's like my arm is like trying to force me to get closer to the painting, but I know I shouldn't get closer to the painting. It's weird. It's a very weird feeling. Alright, so question for everyone. This would be the most obvious question for me to ask everyone while I'm doing this. Can you write down whether you're right-handed or left-handed? I wonder what the majority is, or if you can use them both. Are you right-handed, left-handed, or can you use them both? Let's see, so in October, right, but sometimes you use left for certain things. Wow, that's pretty cool. So Ellen, you're right-handed. So Alder, you're right, can't use left. Never tried. Well, that was me about 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago. I've only ever tried to write with my opposite hand and play pool with my opposite hand. Never tried to paint with my opposite hand. And of all things, why not try to do it on camera for the first time? Because I wanted you to see this, of course. So once again, just like the palette knife painting, I'm probably going to go a little more slow. I will take my time with it. Whereas if I'm painting kind of like business as usual, I tend to move a little faster. Which will give you time to paint along with me if you're interested in painting along with me. Now some of you will be able to paint a lot faster than this, so go ahead and work faster if you want to. If you're interested in the reference, just let me know. I can link it on the Google Arts and Culture. I can link it on the comments. But it's just a basic one from Google Arts and Culture. Basic Rembrandt. Here, textbook Rembrandt head. Alright, so let's go ahead and mix up some side planes. Not that I want to. Very tentative here. I'm very cautious with my shapes. Absolutely cautious. So Ellen, you'd be interested. It's a very strange thing. It's a very strange thing. So that's going to be a thing. With my light being the angle that it is, left hand feels like I should apply the brush stroke in this direction, but look what happens. The glare, well actually you can't see it. I certainly can. It glares because of the direction of my light source. So I have to use the fan brush to minimize that. Oh, see? I'm dropping brushes with this hand. It's ridiculous. I'm telling you. So, I find that the most difficult thing with the opposite hand, me being someone who's never done this before, is the grip and the application of the brush stroke. Those are the two most weird things. And trying to maneuver between different brushes, as I usually do. I usually hold a bunch of different brushes when I'm painting, but it's very difficult for me to do that. And it's kind of weird because I'm usually holding a bunch of brushes with my left hand, but for some reason I can't hold them with my right hand. It's weird. Yeah, and even like the putting the brush down, as you see there, even putting the brush down, and I'm not doing that on purpose. I'm putting the brush down. I'm so used to like my right hand going straight down and putting the brush on a surface. My left hand doesn't know what to do. As soon as I'm reaching to put the brush down, it just pauses and the brush just falls. Pretty different. So I'm not lying to you. You're definitely witnessing something I've never done before. But the purpose of this demo is for you to see what it's like for someone that's been painting 14, 15 years with one hand to try to do a painting with the opposite hand. And to teach you how to use shapes. I mean, everything I'm going to do here is shapes. There's no way that I can go in with lines. I just don't have the precision for lines with my opposite hand. It's not even possible. Going in with lines with the opposite hand is like writing a paragraph. Going in with shapes is like throwing a baseball and hoping it lands on the right spot. I'd rather throw the baseball and hope it lands in the right spot. Like that. And if it doesn't land in the right spot, not a big deal. So from Sonia, when you started out, did you use the value scale? I more or less, if you mean the lesson from earlier today, I keep it in the back of my mind, that value scale. But no, I don't actually use it in practice. But the ideas are the same. I mean, I have the light and shadow, and I have the middle lights, which the tone is kind of setting in for the middle lights. But I don't create the value scale and pinpoint the planes like I did in the lesson. I keep that more or less in the back of my mind. huge shout out to all you left-handed painters out there. This is so difficult for me to do. It's crazy. So what she's referring to is the lesson that we did earlier today, which was a review on the fundamentals. So this was for my Patreon class. So we went over the values, how it went lighter, darker, and then lighter again, and the reflections and stuff like that. But I keep that information in the back of my mind when I'm painting. I wouldn't place it down here. On the palette, I do keep an organization, so like top and bottom, it gets darker towards the bottom. The start of this is going to be very monochrome. I'm not going to go into a lot of color. So we're going to just put in the most basic planes for the head. I'm trying to keep it somewhat loose, structural, so I can build onto it. Not sure how on earth I'm going to do that with the opposite hand, but to be able to build it next time. So I figured out what I'm going to do whenever I have to switch brushes is I'm going to have to be a little more careful, or else the brush is going to go flying away. Like I said, with the direction of the light, it's very difficult. And what I can do, this is allowed actually, is use oh, this is so weird. This is oh geez, what are these things called? I already forgot. That's how distracted my brain is. A little support for your arm. Jeez. Okay, there we go. Usually I don't need this in this stage of a painting. But I can relate to you now. Any of you that struggles with, say, a soft touch, I would have never thought about it until doing this. Mahl stick, exactly. Jeez, I've been doing this for so many years. Try to make me paint with my left hand and I forget what a mahl stick is. see. Hey, Goku. A little more green. Like I said, I'm not gonna put too much color into the start of this. Alright, another question for everyone. Doesn't really pertain to painting that much, but is anybody holiday shopping yet? Because apparently everybody over here is holiday shopping now. Crazy. And I thought holiday shopping during Thanksgiving was tough. Hey, Shabu. And believe me, after you watch me paint this, you will know I am not ambidextrous. Not even by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going in again with the dark shapes. I like to go back and forth between dark and light. Hey Tipu, thanks for watching from Toronto. So Carla, not yet. No worries. I haven't started either. Hansel Dog, you purchased one thing? Oh, thanks Carla, I'm glad you admire my bravery. There's a fine line between bravery and silliness. But I am very comfortable with all of you, with YouTube. I'm not at all concerned. I mean, I might get some trolls here and there, but I'm not really that concerned. And I figure you'd appreciate seeing me struggle with, I think you'd probably see me struggle. Like to see me struggle with something, as opposed to flying through it and saying, oh, it's easy, just put this light and shadow here and there it is. Well, it's hard when it's difficult to control the brush. And I mean, maybe someone out there might break their dominant arm or something and want to paint, but have to do with your opposite arm. And believe me, this video is going to give you insight on how to do that. One thing I will say is definitely work shape-based. Shape-oriented for sure. I don't even think about the outlines at this point. Hey Tipu, the reference seems yellow. Yeah, it's like, on my end it's super yellowish. I'm going to add more yellow into it. Now I've barely even touched red, so there shouldn't be that much pink into it. I usually have to adjust my light anyway. Like I said, I adjusted everything. But yeah, the reference is all kinds of yellow. I mean, it looks like it was probably painted with straight up lead tin yellow. But it's probably just the way it turned out over the years. There are areas where pink will be used, like on the side of the cheekbone right there, for example. Goku. Pink makes it look more horror film. Well, it depends on your screen. I mean, I don't even see that much of it. It's not really that visible to me. Depends on your screen. I'll probably have to upgrade my camera or change my settings. Who knows? It could also be a downfall of the Cobras. Could be. So we're mixing yellow into the grays. So in theory, this little section here shouldn't have that much pink. So let's get the palette knife. Yeah, it could be hundreds of years of varnish too. So let's do this. Palette knife some of this color away. If color is the concern. So we'll get the palette knife. Left-handed palette knife. I'll talk about that for difficult. Left-handed palette knife. I do not suggest anyone do that unless you really want to test yourself. Now, just make a plane. Just focusing on this plane. That should be far from pink. As you saw the mixture there, that was pretty much gray and yellow. And yeah, I could be painting the age of the varnish into it. That's certainly a possibility. But the goal is not the color at this point. The goal is the value. Remember, everyone, value does all the work and color gets all the credit. Hey, Costa Rican doll, thanks for the hearts from the Caribbean. Thanks for watching from the Caribbean or Caribbean, however we're supposed to say it. I'm not sure. Yeah, it seems to be a lot of comments about the pink. So if your concern is about the pink, I'm going to take the red off. So red is off of the palette. So let's see how you're going to paint pink now, huh? There's no red on there. You may ask, how will red get rid of pink? Well, I don't know. I mean, doesn't red make pink? A little bit of white and red typically makes a pink. So, now that I took red off the palette, we've got a well, instead of a 3-color palette, we've got basically well, the orange is still in there, so whatever. We've got the colors that are there. I just took a red out. But honestly, I'm really liking this challenge. It's bringing me back to my own fundamentals. If my own fundamentals aren't strong enough to be able to do this with the opposite hand, And that means I need to review my fundamentals. But at this point, I'm not that worried about it. I think for one, I'm just killing off as much of the so-called pink as I can. But the painting is already fine. Like I'd be fine leaving it like this, letting it dry. So I've got the canvas covered, I've got the proportions covered, the placement of the features covered, relatively speaking. So really what's going to be left after this is the subtleties, which again I have no clue how I'm going to do that with the opposite hand, but we're going to try. Like I said, any kind of subtlety with this is going to be very difficult. Hey Carol. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, Carol, this is my opposite hand day. So, very difficult. I've already dropped a few brushes by accident, not being able to place them down properly. So it's very difficult. And tomorrow on the group Zoom, we'll go over this again and figure out where I could have done things differently. Opposite handed with Cobra Talons paints. This is definitely an alternate reality to what I would have done in like 2019 or 2018. Alright, a little bit of orange. So remember everyone, I can't apply any more pink. I took the red out, so this will not end up being pink. Hey Carol, yeah, I am right-handed. Yeah, and I'm painting with my left hand. I'm trying to. I am far from ambidextrous, everyone. I am not ambidextrous. I gotta say, if you're gonna ask me which one was more difficult, the palette knife portrait or the left-handed portrait, palette knife portrait is definitely more difficult than left-handed portrait. Now I know that his eyes need to be angled a little bit more and this needs to be angled, but I'm just throwing down shapes for now. Like I said, think about shapes. Lines are going to be your worst enemy. Opposite handed. lowering his eye slightly. And while we're doing that, can also add some more of the shadow on his eye. So a tiny bit of shadow here. And a lot over here. Oh good, I'm glad you liked that palette knife challenge. This will be a whole nother challenge. Although it's not as bad. It's not going as bad as the palette knife one was. The palette knife one had to be the most difficult of them all. Like I said, I think the weirdest thing about this is just switching brushes. It's not even the painting that's as weird, it's the switching of the brushes. Oh, thanks, Carol. Oh, thanks, Ansel Dog. It is a challenge. I'm definitely not adding any pink. Not an easy challenge. Then again, if it was easy, it wouldn't be a challenge. This is quite difficult. That kind of stuff would be easier. Will be easier with the next layer once this dries. Okay, so almost there for the first layer. Remember, we'll continue this on Wednesday. I guess we'll continue it with the opposite hand. Seems to have gone all right. Just keep it shape oriented. I don't even care about any of the details really, as long as I have the basic shapes in the correct place, that it looks like the face from a distance somewhat. It was really all I need for the first sitting. In this case, first standing, because I'm actually standing. I changed my my setup a little bit so I could stand. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. I don't have that much to complain about. Using the same Silverbrush Grand Prix size 2s and size 4s. This is a size 2 extra long filbert. Yeah, just a size 2 filbert. Silverbrush Grand Prix. Works both left-handed and right-handed. Alright, I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. Little details and stuff, that's things that we really should be doing on the second sitting really with this. So I'm gonna put the brush down. Ugh, that's weird using the opposite hand. So there's a point. Will I ask if there are any last minute questions? Thanks, Carol. In summary, I would definitely suggest to do a portrait with palette knife. That's the first challenge that I had. And when it comes to working with your opposite hand, I would suggest you work with your opposite hand only if you plan to work solely with shapes. If you try to go into it with outlines, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt your brain. Go into it with shapes. Think about blocks of shapes, not outlines, because outlines will be very difficult. All right, no problem, Carol. All right, let's see, Ellen. You ordered a 6? No worries, I have a 6. I use a 6 too. I don't know where it is, but I know I have one somewhere. A 6 will be just fine. Yeah, you'll have no issues. The difference between a size 6 and a size 4 filbert with Silverbrush isn't that big, and the 6 might actually help you cover faster than the 4. No worries, no worries. Alright, so as usual, everyone, if you enjoyed today's live stream, remember that we are doing these every Monday and Wednesday, 6:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The streams are usually with my right hand with a paintbrush, usually portraiture, but last time we did a landscape, and we can do a variety of different things. But if you like these streams, if you like my YouTube videos, and you would like to take your online art education further with me, please check out my online classes on my Patreon, which is linked in the description box of this video. Classes start at just $5 a month, gets you into the still life class, and you'll be able to get feedback directly from me. So once again, thank you all so much for watching. I wish you the very best in all of your artwork. And I'll see you on the next one.